Good morning, everybody. I'm Federica Girardi, Product Manager of BTS Bioengineering, and today I'm going to show you the the usefulness of PODIUM and the technology in evaluating athletes' performance in sport fields. After that, I have a pleasure to show you the testimony of the Dr. Daniele Tognaccini, the MILANLAB director, who will show the importance of technology in sports world according to his experience. As you probably already know, the study of the movement in sports has a fundamental role, not only to check the athlete's level of preparation, but also to improve their performance and to prevent injuries. In the past, performance tests such as jumps and sprint were assessed in a qualitative way through video system and using a simple stopwatch, for example. So the tests were very subjective, and human reaction times in the use of the stopwatch could lead to a measurement error. Today, however, technology progress allows us to make faster evaluation, obtaining more precise and repeatable data. In this context, we made PODIUM, a system with 2 cameras and 2 digital force platforms that measures the reaction force to the ground. Thanks to a series of tests, it provides quantitative information on the athlete's performance and becomes an indispensable tool for obtaining repeatable and comparable data over the time. Moreover, augmented reality allows us to show what we don't see only using our eyes in an intuitive and fast way. Actually, PODIUM provides the overimpression of the force vectors to the video, thus allowing to see in real time the effects of the reaction forces exchanged between the subject and the ground. Finally, the biofeedback function can be used as a training and it can involve and motivate the athlete. Actually, the subject is able to direct monitor his physical condition, becoming aware of his own improvements and also weakness. Today, we will focus on jumping test. The test that I will show you is the counter movement jump that is used to evaluate the ability of elastic reuse of the extensor muscles of lower limbs. It's important because it allows to increase the performance by evaluating some typical parameter of the loading phase, and to prevent injuries through the assessment of the landing phase. So now let's see the test together. So just a moment. Just a moment that I open the software. Okay, so now we have a new trial of counter movement jump. So now We will ask the subject to stand on the first platforms with his hands on the hips and 1 foot on each plate. Once the athlete is on the first plates and he stands still in orthostatic position, the acquisition can be started. So we can start the acquisition. Okay, after the first orthostatic rest position, the first orthostatic position must be maintained for 5 seconds. Then the athlete must squat down until the knees are bent at approximately 90 degrees and immediately jump vertically as high as possible. The landing should be performed with both feet touching the corresponding first platform at the same time. And the acquisition needs to be stopped at least 2 or 3 seconds after the jump conclusion. So we save the trial. Okay. And now we can open the report. The analysis performed is saved directly in the database, and we can now analyze the report in which we can find the main parameters evaluated in the jump. We can also print the report. Okay. Okay. The personal data and anthropometric data of the subject are shown on the first page, as you can see. On the second page, we have the dynamic analysis of the athletic performance. The vertical and anterior-posterior components are evaluated in orthostatic, landing, and loading phases. Regarding the vertical force component for each phase, the value of the resulting force component relative to the body is reported, and the percentage contribution of the right and the left limbs are specified. This information provides an immediate overview of the symmetry and the global coordination of the entire movement, and the quantification of the asymmetry in the movement of a subject is relevant to prevent structural overloads that in the long run cause pain and decreased performance. Regarding the anterior-posterior component, the resultant force relative to the body, the right and the left force are shown. Thanks to the evaluation of the anterior-posterior component, it is also possible to objectify how much effective dispersion there is in the movement in terms of force. And is also important because in the pushing parts, for example, it would be important to have a low anterior-posterior component in order to concentrate all the power in the vertical component in favor of the height of the jump. On the third page, we are going to evaluate the inclination of the force vector, both in the anterior, posterior, and medial lateral direction. And this kind of evaluation is carried out in the phase of orthostatism, loading, and landing On the right and the left forces that provide information about the possible varism or vagism of the subject. This type of imbalance provides useful information also from a muscular point of view. In fact, in the case in which the resulting force is projected in the posterior direction, for example, it means, for example, that the subject is unbalanced anteriorly with a consequent tension of the posterior muscles. The images shown the phases described. In fact, the frontal and sagittal view are shown in the standing phase, during the pushing phase, and the landing phase. The fourth page shows the total power value generated between all the tests and the influence of right and left lower limb. After that, we have an analysis of the spatial and the performance parameters evaluated during the loading phase. We can see the flight 8 of the trial and the counter movement depth. And then we can see the speed parameters such as the velocity at toe off and peak of velocity. As we can see, we have the peak of velocity and velocity at toe off that should be the same for maximize the loading of the movement. And then we have the loss of velocity, that is an indication of an effective and efficient body coordination. We have the leg stiffness. The stiffness of the legs is calculated as the ratio between the maximum vertical reaction force to the ground and the compression of the legs at the movement of maximum bending before the jump. Finally, we have the analysis of the rate of force development that is calculated in bending and loading phase before the jump, and these parameters provide an indication on the athlete's ability to produce explosive strength before the jump. Finally, we have the analysis of center of pressure tracks during loading and landing phases. And given the nature of this movement that requires the body to be displaced maximally in vertical direction, the center of pressure tracks during the loading and landing phases should be superimposable. Now, I have the pleasure to show you a quick interview of Dr. Tognaccini, the director of Italian MILANLAB, who was our host last week. And thanks to his experience, he will explain us the importance of using technology in the sports world.
Bene, buongiorno a tutti, mi chiamo Daniele Tognaccini, lavoro da sempre.
Hello, my name is Daniele Tognaccini. I've been working in the world of sports and in particular with Milan for the past 20 seasons. This has led me through an interesting professional path that started at first as an athletic trainer and then as a project leader of the MILANLAB. Now at the moment, I am the director of it and have been for the past 4 years. We use the lab mainly to understand how athletes use their proper physical heritage.
Mi viene facile partecipare a questo webinar perché
It is easy for me to participate in this webinar since BTS has always been by my side when working with my athletes. Together, we have been going through a very clear path that has shown me how technology can be helpful when trying to understand what is concretely happening. Yet, it isn't useful only for the athletes that we evaluate, but also for anyone that is getting assessed by this technological support. The question, why use technology, is exactly what we should be asking ourselves when posed in front of a person, so that we can understand and decide what to do for them in the most efficient manner. Another classic question that we encounter is it correct to make them do this exercise instead of another? Here is where an instrument like PODIUM will give us a hand, since it allows us to truly identify and understand how a person moves in an intricate manner, gathering and quantifying data that the eye can't really see. Above all, an analysis done with this speed and with this level of simplicity allows us to increase the frequency of tests, and that as well is an important feature for us, since we have much work to complete. The possibility to have evaluations done with a high frequency also allows us to understand when the numbers and general data that we gather start to be different from the respective normality of the subject. Hence, we observe quickly when something is out of sync with the athlete's normality. In the sports field, if this methodology is used from the beginning, you will have the chance to screen the athlete for a longer period and have them get back to their top physical performance, hopefully similar to something that they were before the unfortunate event or injury occurred. This approach helped us greatly when we had to bring footballers back on the field. By having this extensive map detailing all their past performances, it gave us the possibility to give an objective quantification of the level of functionality of the injured member, without only limiting ourselves to direct physiological healing.
Finché il corpo non riporta l'atto a una funzionalità che era precedente all'infortunio, non siamo tranquilli per metterlo in campo. È chiaro che questo strumento ci dà questa possibilità.
It is clear that this instrument gives us this possibility because, as you have seen, it successfully helps you to frame the complex gesture of a counter movement, and it provides you an entire series of static and dynamic parameters.
Sia in statica che in dinamica, che sono gli altri due elementi molto importanti.
The static phase is also very important to evaluate because if we already have a static problem, meaning that a person has a strong displacement from one leg in respect to the other, then it must be corrected on this aspect even before having them do exercises that have an important ballistic element, like a jump for example, and this would affect greatly the entire stability of the person. Hence, the clear message is of mapping the person through various aspects with a trustable instrument.
Una cosa importantissima al di là dell'affidabilità dello strumento, ma questa è certificata dalla qualità che BTS da sempre.
BTS has always certified that all products are validated and that they provide repeatable data. Having this repeatable evaluation allows us to trust the support that we are given and giving to the patient.
E qui abbiamo avuto una prova abbastanza lampante della ripetibilità perché è fatto su un gesto piuttosto semplice. Chiaro che
it is clear that the instrument is made for many different uses that are totally different in respect to the ones you have just seen. What we have shown just a while ago is one of the possible tests, but you can make different types of tests like the squat jump, and other types like the drop jumps, in order to see a whole series of different parameters.
Altri tipi tipo il drop jump, e lì si può andare a vedere tutta una serie di situazioni. L'elemento differenziante importante di tutto questo.
The element that differentiates this instrument is the feedback that you receive when you're doing the test, since the force vectors that you see on the screen clearly are appreciated by who is actually doing the test, and allows us to enter into direct dialogue with the client or patient.
Piuttosto diretta con la persona che fa il gesto. lì chiaro che dipende da.
It is clear that this also depends on the type of relationship you have with the person, but it becomes easy to bring the attention not only on the assessment, but on the overall work, hence putting yourself on the same line as the patient or athlete, depending of course on whether you're working with a clinical patient or athlete.
Siamo nel clinico o nello sportivo a valutare assieme quello che sta facendo. E questo tipo di lavoro porta sicuramente a una serie di vantaggi.
This type of work certainly brings a series of advantages that you can understand very well.
Da questo punto di vista mi piacerebbe anche fare una prova.
At this moment in time, I'd like to complete a couple of tests with you in order to show you how you can use the instrument, not only for assessment, but also on an exercise as simple as a squat.
O semplicemente per un'analisi di un gesto semplice tipo uno squat.
We will hence move towards the force plate and see in real time what you can do.
In tempo reale che cosa si può fare. Bene, puoi salire sopra. Chiaramente.
Great. Let's ask the patient to step up on the podium. Clearly, we have the possibility to see in real time the forces that are exchanged with the ground and the resultant, which is indicated with the blue vector, while the green and red vectors give the right and left indications. In this phase, if you are asked to complete a movement, for example a squat, you can see the weight distribution and when it is going up and down, as well as how the weight gets distributed through the force vectors.
Alzandosi e riabbassandosi come va a distribuire il peso attraverso i vettori di forza.
It is clear that in this phase, there will be a more equilibrated force production version. But if we purposely throw ourselves off balance towards either the right or left, you will notice a completely different distribution.
In questo caso si può far comprendere perfettamente all'atleta.
In this case, you can easily make the athlete understand that one leg is doing a different job than the other. If we go and initiate a squat jump test, the visualization becomes even more important because you can also assess the entire eccentric phase. Hence, you will see which leg the athlete involuntarily supports himself or herself with first. All this gets well identified also by the actual athlete, who becomes conscious of what is happening and the work that will follow in order to compensate for the eventual displacements. This, in my opinion, is an extremely important element for an instrument that can not only be present in a laboratory like ours, which obviously needs this high-caliber technology, but also for gyms and centers that want to gather more information and have their clients understand that you can fully take care of them with a well-detailed analysis and the right series of exercises to complete in time. This is what I mostly wanted to encompass, how an instrument of this caliber can be useful even for your daily activity. Since always I've been working with numbers, and I cannot imagine to program a training session without having numbers as a support. Hence for my work, it becomes really simple when I can have this level of technology that helps me in such a crucial way. It becomes an incredible and inevitable resource.
E penso e spero che anche voi facciate tesoro di questa esperienza perché
I hope that you can also appreciate this experience because, like everything in the world by now, numbers are very important when supporting people with decision power. When we are faced with a person that puts their total health in your hands, you have to be calm and sure that we are using our heads to make the best decisions possible. Thank you all for your kind attention.
The webinar is finished. Before leaving, I would like to thank Dr. Tognaccini for his precious testimony and for the time he has dedicated to us. Thank you for your attention. We look forward to see you at the next webinar.